Guys, it's Jen. This is another episode of Reframing Me, and I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Brubaker. Happy New Year! I am so grateful to be back recording this, and I am even more grateful to have you here too. I've taken a lovely break from recording, but y'all know me. My head is always going, thinking and planning and manifesting, setting goals, making lists. And this week, then, I am back after trying to turn off my brain as much as possible over the holidays to just kind of be present and enjoy everything. But this week, I was excited to turn it back on and to get back to work. And I loved this week. I had the chance to speak at an event. It was an emerging leaders event, and it was wonderful. They were all educators who were leaders in their field and in their district. And I had the opportunity to not only speak to them, but I also got to listen in on their meeting and their conversations. And it was awesome to be in a room filled with hope for the future and just some really good vibes. And I got to talk about the podcast, which obviously I love doing, but it was nice to get to talk about the more Jenna Zen side of it. Oh, and I also got to talk about that side in a media interview this week too. So that was amazing. Both events were special for me because I get lots of, I don't they get lots. Like, don't go thinking I'm like rocking it as a celebrity because I am not. But I am very grateful to have a lot more opportunities than most people are given to talk about their work and spread their message. And I do get a good amount of opportunities to talk about like my academic side, my political research, and my family communication work, like that side of the pod. But getting to talk about the more woo-woo Jenna Zen side is really cool because I love it so much, and focusing on it has been such a game changer for me. And I know that it has been for many of you too. So it is totally helpful to tell others. And I just don't get that much of an opportunity to talk about that stuff. So I was loving it this week. I mean, it was probably because of like New Year's and New Year's resolutions, but I not only got to speak at the meeting, but I had the opportunity to do that wellness and media interview going into the new year. So it was amazing. So I thought that we could spend today having a conversation about that to some degree. I thought we could talk a bit more about using gratitude for what we are and what we have in order to achieve what we want. And I also think that we could take that even farther from where we were in our last Gen Zen, essentially thanking ourselves and appreciating all that we do and we have and everything we've done, rather than just only seeing what it is that we want to change about ourselves and our lives, what we think we could or we should do better. Because I don't know about y'all, but if I don't intentionally do this practice, I 100% would just organically default to the I should have done more. I could have done better in like every single aspect of my life. And yes, I probably could do more or do better. Of course, we all could. But that doesn't mean that I should have, or that I didn't do enough, or that I am not enough, because I did, and I am. And yes, something similar was one of the quotes that the reporter used for her story. And of course, my sister was sarcastically like, "Oh, that's cute that you think that." So yes, I know what a huge ask that is of you. Y'all, it is a monstrous ask of me too. But I am intentionally focusing on the wins because that is what is going to manifest more wins. But before we do that, I realize that because we are getting new listeners all the time, but especially I think maybe because of New Year's, and maybe, just maybe, don't hold me to this because it may not work, but maybe someday you might actually be able to see this, like see me recording. I don't know yet. I'm still deciding about it. So long story short, I created a YouTube channel forever ago for the podcast. A number of times I tried to at least upload audio because I do know that a lot of people listen to podcasts that way. But it was such a pain, y'all. I don't know if it was me or if it was just always that hard in general, but I just kind of gave up and I put a pin in it. Well, literally like 2 or 3 days ago, I just realized that all of my podcasts are now automatically uploaded by Buzzsprout, who's like my host platform. They put them there for me. They take all of that hard work out, which is amazing. Well, anyway, I was super excited. And then I looked and guess how many views I had? Mind you, it was like 170 some episodes. I had zero, zero. I'm like, what? Nobody's watched? Well, no one watched because they were all there, but they were all set on private. So I went in and I changed them all. And like literally, I had to do this one at a time, but I changed them all to public. So now I have YouTube listeners too. So yay. So now I'm thinking that I'm doing better with feeling more comfortable on camera. And so I know people like to see video. So maybe I should try to do some too. But anyway, I don't even know how hard it might be to edit video, so that may not happen. But maybe at some point, or maybe I can at least get some clips at some time. That would be cool too. So anyway, because we have new listeners slash new viewers, I should take a minute to introduce myself and what we do here. I mean, besides ramble, because I kind of feel like that's all I've done thus far. I guess I'm just really excited to be back and talking with y'all. Well, I'm the host of this circus. I'm Jennifer Brubaker. I'm a college professor at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. It's my 19th year there. And it's actually like my, 24th year teaching? Wow. Well, I am a communication studies professor and I teach political communication, integrated marketing communication, and of course, my favorite, family communication, which is what we do here. I started this little podcast a bit over 2 years ago now. My daughter was in the 8th grade. My middle, he had just started high school. And then my oldest, he was a junior at that point. And I was feeling really lost. Like my kids are teenagers, they are older and more independent, and they just don't need me like they did before. And I started to see how I had no idea what I was going to do with myself because I had been a full-time professor since they were born. I mean, literally, like I interviewed for my job at UNCW 8 months pregnant with Tobias, my oldest. And thanks to the flexibility of my job and to my personality of always wanting to do the right thing and do everything and my anxiety at not wanting to miss out on anything, et cetera, et cetera. But for all of those years, I juggled having a full-time job and yet still behaving in my head like I was a stay-at-home mom, being room mom and team mom and doing drop-off and pickup every single day, and just basically sometimes forgetting that I had an actual out-of-the-house job too, which was totally exhausting, but it did work for me. But then I started to see that I was going to be put into a forced semi-retirement from my mom job at some point. And long story short, I, like a bazillion other people working through their own issues, well, I host a podcast now. It pretty much started almost as a form of self-therapizing. But eventually I started to let people know that it existed and it spread. Much to my very pleasant surprise, I realized that I was absolutely not the only person who was feeling the way that I was, lost and confused and really unsure of what I was doing or who I was beyond being a mom. And like me, they all kind of wanted to figure it out. So that is part of what we do here. And that's the part when I say Jenna Zen and the Jenna Zen episodes. I see myself as being two parts. Part scholarly Dr. Brubaker, who has a master's in journalism and a PhD in communication studies, and then part woo-woo Jen, who is into meditating and yoga and crystals and self-reflection and who is obsessed with self-development. And I see the podcast as being the same. It's half the theoretical parenting part because that's all different as your kids grow up too. Even if you are super convinced that you've got this whole parenting thing down when they're young. Well, surprise, it's a whole new ballgame when they're teenagers. And so we need to adapt. And then family and communication itself is just challenging under the best circumstances. And when they're teens, it's often not the best circumstances. So it's really important for us to understand. And when I teach it in the classroom, it's great. I love it. The students totally enjoy it, but they never get the same things out of it that you do because how could they? They're like 20. They're a decade from probably even having young kids, let alone teenagers. So it's not all that beneficial to them beyond like, hey, file this away and maybe pull it out of your tool belt someday. So, this idea of public scholarship and of bringing theoretical content and research directly to the people who would most benefit from it, that's you. Well, to me, at least, it makes absolute perfect sense. So, in the podcast, we spend about half of our episodes looking at parenting and families, but then the other half I save for the other part, the part of us who we were before we had kids, who we still are underneath, but who we haven't had the opportunity to see or to prioritize in so long now that we kind of feel like we may need a reintroduction, or maybe we need to meet who she is now, like in 2025. So that's the self-reflection and development part. And I like to get into manifestation and crystals and grounding mats and the law of attraction and the law of resonance, concepts that I completely believe in and I see in our world and in our lives. And then I like to sprinkle in some things that I love and want to share to just overall help us live happier and healthier lives, I guess. So for both of those speaking event and the interview this week, I really tried to focus on a message that was pretty similar to what we talked about in our last episode before the holidays. Basically, let's ditch this new year, new me mentality, and let's instead go with new year, same me, new mindset. Because that's what is going to help us in the long run to transform ourselves and our lives and our families and become the favorite version that we get to see glimpses of and who we know exists. In fact, I even shared a story this week that I also wanted to share with you because I know y'all will totally appreciate it. Because, well, first of all, I know that I am not the only one who does this irritating behavior, so you'll understand the magnitude of this accomplishment. And second, because I know for a fact that I have mentioned all of the pieces of this story as they happened, so I realized I needed to share the outcome. But before I do y'all know what they call today? If you're not listening on the day that this is published, well, first of all, why not? You should be getting on it as soon as it comes out. But today is Friday, January 10th. Do you know what they say it is? It's National Quitters Day. What? As if we are celebrating quitting? Because they don't say it like it's ooh, I quit smoking, yay. No, it's called National Quitters Day because so many people quit their New Year's resolutions by today. I'm sorry, but that's sad. We should encourage people to keep going, not celebrate them quitting. That makes me sad. But they are on target because sadly, the research backs this up. According to my alma mater, the Ohio State University, Fisher College of Business, which funnily enough, that's my degree. Go Bucks. They're actually playing in the national championship semifinals tonight. And my lucky husband, he got to go to Texas for the game, and I'm super jealous. But according to research from Ohio State, only 9% of people actually complete their New Year's resolutions. 23% fall off by the end of the first week. So yeah, I guess that's the National Quitters Day-ish, right? And 43% have pieced out by the end of January. And I totally get it. I absolutely admit to being part of the 91% for literally every New Year's resolution that I have ever made in my life, except for one. 5 years ago, so January of 2020, I decided that I would meditate every morning. And I'm proud to say that I have meditated at least for 5 minutes, but typically 10 minutes, 15 if I'm super lucky. But I have meditated every single morning for 5 full years. And I cannot say enough about how that has changed my life. And I'm proud of that. But y'all, that is it. Out of the 48 New Year's, and who knows how many of those have included for my resolutions. Oh, wait, shoot. It's 49, right? Because I'm going to be 49. Anyway, it's a lot of failed resolutions. I know that I have told you before that my most failed New Year's resolution has to be, and this is why I said I think you can relate, I am going to stop leaving clothes out in my closet, or even more specifically, on the edge of my bathtub. Right? Y'all do that? Yes, totally. Take it off. Not sure if it's clean, not sure if it's totally dirty. Set it on the bathtub. Try things on. This doesn't work. Set it on the bathtub. And it piles and piles and piles. We moved into this house in 2016. And I can promise you that in 2017, 18, 19, 2020, 21, 22, 23, and yes, in 2024, I resolved to stop leaving my clothes out. And I can guarantee, without any type of actual data, that I never once made it to February. So why? Why have I consistently been a failure at this? I am guessing that it's the same reason that the rest of the 91% fail. Each time that I have made that resolution, or any resolution for that matter, I have come to it from a place of lacking. I look at myself and I look at where I'm failing and I ask, where do I fall short? How can I be better? And then guess what? I fail at this resolution and I have found one more thing that I could have done better at, right? I have proved myself right. Yet again, I have failed. And I am a perfectionist, so I really don't like that. Well, if you come to my house right now, yes, I can promise you it's a hot mess. But you know what else I can promise you? I can promise you that there are no clothes on my bathtub. There are no clothes on my bed or on the chair in the corner of my room. All of the clothes in my closet are on hangers or folded on shelves. I don't leave clothes out anymore. But it wasn't a New Year's resolution that did it. I didn't find the flaw that made me so annoyed and know that I needed to change. I didn't tell myself that I needed to be better. No. Okay, so remember back in the fall, September, I think it was, I did a whole episode on decluttering. I got really into decluttering for a minute there. Well, my husband was going out of town for the weekend, and I had a friend who was coming to visit, and I got COVID earlier in the week, so I had to cancel her visit. He was still going, and the kids were busy, and I found myself with a free weekend, and I still wasn't feeling all that great. So I decided that I had just listened to like a podcast, or maybe it was a book. I don't remember, but something had decluttering on my radar. So I decided that I was going to clean my closet. And one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I was sitting on the floor of my closet, buried amongst clothes and shoes and hangers. And I was regretting all of my choices in my life that had got me to that point. But 3 days later, and like 10 donate bags later, I was so proud of my closet. I was so happy that I did it. I was so grateful that in my schedule that never has any free time, I literally had 3 completely empty days. And I was even more grateful that I hadn't wasted those days. I was grateful for the beautiful clothes that I had that I could now see. I mean, so many of them I didn't even know I had. I didn't even remember buying them. The first few days afterwards, every time I went to lie something down in one of my usual spots, I found myself thinking, look at how beautiful everything looks. Don't do that. You worked so hard. You did such an amazing job. Your clothes are so beautiful. You're so lucky to have such beautiful clothes, etc., etc., etc. I was so proud of my hard work. I was so grateful for the effort that I had put into it. I was so grateful for all of the beautiful clothes that I owned. And then the next week, it was the same. And then the next. And then it was like October. And I realized that without even thinking about it specifically, I had finally done what I had failed at so many times before. And now here we are, January 10th, and every time I even think to sit something down, I literally think those wonderful, grateful thoughts about myself and about my hard work and about my wardrobe, and I hang it up. It's truly amazing. So, why did it work this time without even trying? Why was it different than all of those other times? It was different because this time I came to it from a place of gratitude, a place of abundance. In the past, I had always approached it from that place of lacking. I was tired of being lazy or messy or disorganized. There was something I disliked about myself that I wanted to change. There was somewhere that I was falling short. I needed to be better. But I don't need to be better. I'm really great. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I'm awesome. I don't need to be better. And once I realized that, and I realized that I appreciated who I was and what I did and all that I had, the problem kind of fixed itself. Well, on this National Quitters Day, ew, I don't like that. But I do want to encourage you to keep going. Maybe reframe it a bit. Look at it from a place of abundance. Whatever it was that you had on your radar to do or to accomplish, come to it from that place of gratitude that we talked about in the last episode. Maybe be thankful for all of the things that you are doing, the good facets of you as well. I also wanted to share what I landed on as my intention for the year. Now, you may remember, I've only told you like 72,000 times over the last year, so I know you're probably tired of it. But my intention for last year was to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. So in every situation, every room, every relationship, set the temperature, set the tone. It was such a great intention for me the last year. Well, it's taken me a minute. I'm just not good at committing to things like this, I guess. So it's taken me a minute and I'm still kind of oscillating between two. The first stays on theme, which is kind of funny and ironic because it's like when I go into my little notes app, it's like top of my ideas notes, but yet I have absolutely no idea where it came from or no recollection of ever writing it down. So it's like the universe itself typed it into my note. But anyway, it's okay. Belief is a thermostat for what we achieve in life. And I kind of love it, right? I like it because it's so true. If you believe something is possible, you make it so. Manifestation, relationships, successes, your life, you are only limited by what you truly believe is possible. And then there's another one I like too, the other one I'm oscillating between, and it's a bit simpler and it doesn't involve HVAC control systems. I am grateful for the opportunity. Clearly, gratitude is on my mind lately. I'm in this virtual book club that has us reading the book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. It's a very amazing 28-day gratitude practice. So it's like day 11, I guess. And I think it's awesome. Maybe we should even do it here. If anyone wants to do it with me, I would do it again in February. That could be fun. Would y'all be interested? You would need to commit. It's like a daily thing. It's pretty hardcore gratitude. Anyway, if you do, reach out and let me know. So either belief is a thermostat on what you can achieve, or I'm grateful for the opportunity. Or maybe I'll just do both. I also kind of like the idea of the one word thing and going with reframing because clearly I love that concept and it would fit too. So I don't know. But anyways, now you've seen firsthand why I struggle with all of this. Okay, so we've started the year with who I am, what the pod is, how we are this community of women who together are rediscovering who we are beyond the frame of motherhood, but we are also raising teens. And so we're trying to understand our families and relearn how to mom because it is just so different at this stage of life, right? So I figured that we could round out our conversation today with a kind of best of. Like 10 of my favorite tips to help you to have stronger, happier, and overall better relationships with your teens this year. So, number one, The old but very important, don't take anything personally. I've said this before, and I will say it probably a million more times because it is so important in all aspects of our life, and it will lead to greater happiness and more satisfaction in all of our relationships. But definitely with our teenagers, because everything isn't about us. But truly, a key to happiness and to peace is understanding that whatever happens around you, just don't take it personally. Things that your teen will do or not do, or what they will say or how they will say it, their emotions and ups and downs, their grunts and their bruh. Don't take it personally. I understand that this is leading the list, asking a whole lot, and that this is so much easier said than done. But in general, people's behavior is much more a reflection of them than it is of you. So don't make assumptions. This includes realizing that most things aren't actually about you. So let it go. Help them to figure out what the issue truly is. We have talked about how often our behaviors or our emotions are just a metaphor for something else entirely that's going on. So when they may seem rude or ungrateful or lazy or they snap at you, don't take it personally. Understand that it is likely about something else or someone else entirely. So shake it off, girl. I know it's hard, but it will 100% help your relationship with them. Don't make assumptions. Don't assume that you know what is going on in their head or in their lives. If you are patient with them and understanding of them, you can figure it out together rather than just assuming that they're lazy or entitled or rude or disrespectful or whatever. So, to go along with this and to help them figure out what is really going on that's bothering them, number 2, listen to them. Be an active listener. Become a skilled, active listener, and it can help you with all of your relationships, especially your relationship with your teens, because of the fact that oftentimes, just like you, they don't even understand what they are upset about, or they're sad about, or they're angry about. They don't even realize that it's actually about something else entirely. And if you can learn to listen to them and to realize what the actual issue is, then your relationship with them will be much better. We do throw around the terms listening and hearing as if they are the same, but they're not. Hearing is only the physiological processing of the sounds. Listening means paying attention to and hearing it with thoughtful attention and giving it consideration. Active listening makes you engage. It's a way of listening and responding to the other person that improves your understanding of what they are saying. This is the way that you want to listen if you're trying to understand the other person or if you're looking for a solution to something. Being active means you're being curious. You're trying to figure out what is actually going on. You want to help. So be curious when you talk to your teens. You need to have a genuine interest in understanding them and a true desire to understand what is going on. You need to be more interested in listening to actually hear what they're saying rather than only listening to form a response. Listen to understand, not just to respond. Number 3, take an interest in them and in what they are interested in. Ask questions. You cannot expect them to be interested in what you want them to be interested in or what you are interested in if you're not interested in what they are interested in. Some things, yes, they're going to be organic, but others, this is where you're going to need to make an effort. I often hear from moms who say that they're looking to connect with their teens, and especially as oftentimes their sons, because I think sometimes with our daughters, it tends to be more organic, things that we might be interested in too, like makeup or clothes or getting your nails done or whatever. I mean, obviously not always, but there's often typically more overlap in interest than with our teenage sons. But regardless of sons or daughters, we need to make more of an effort, whether it's their video games or their types of movies or TV shows that they like, or music or sports, but sending them reels and TikToks that are relevant to what they like. It's a super easy way to interact with them just casually throughout the day. I mean, at this point, I would say that my algorithms are like 90 to 95% football and cute animals. I do enjoy football and I do love me some cute animals, but really it's mostly because I send my daughter cute animal videos. And so she sends them to me. And I send my boys football memes and videos and they send them to me. Do I enjoy them? Totally. Would it be like 95% of the content that I look at on socials? If not for them, probably not, but they're interested in them, so I'm interested in them. Even if it's something that you don't know much about, try to learn because it's something to have in common. Fantasy football. I've always loved football, so that's not a huge stretch, but like in liking a couple of teams. Well, now I know it all because for the last few seasons, we've had one and now two fantasy leagues together. And it's become so much fun and something that we have in common. And like sharing videos and memes that they enjoy, it's constant. So it's not forced. It's not like a let's go do this and force a fun mother-son or mother-daughter bonding experience. So when you do things together, like more structured activities, it is much more authentic because you're more constantly and consistently a part of their daily lives. Number 4, manage that stability change dialectic. We have talked about this one before so many times. Families seek enough regularity and order and permanence and predictability in our relationships. We like to know what to expect. It makes us feel comfortable. But we need to have some flexibility over time. So the change side of it is the tendency for family systems to reorganize themselves, try to adapt to new patterns of communication and new relationships, because when we grow and we develop, everything changes. You may even remember that relational dialectics. Okay, so they are two things that on the surface look like they're polar opposites, but we need to maintain some degree of each one and keep that really delicate balance between the two in order to keep our family systems functioning. And as parents, our kids, we know they're constantly changing. And so our families are constantly changing. And so we have to be open to that change and we have to be open to grow and to evolve. We have to be adaptable. However, we also have to keep our family stable and consistent because people like stability, people like consistency, especially teenagers. And yes, I know that sounds contradictory because the ones who act like your traditions or your rituals or your activities are so stupid and so boring because they're not babies anymore. Yes, those are the teenagers I'm talking about. Their lives and their emotions and their bodies and their friendships and their everything are different from one minute to the next, it seems. So they need you to provide some type of consistency for them, even if they seem resistant to it. And so we are constantly trying to have this balance of being stable enough for that consistency and that certainty, but having enough change for that adaptability and growth. And so that's really the line that we walk on as parents. We need to provide enough of that stability and consistency and tradition. However, we have to realize that no, they're not babies anymore. And so we have to give them some room for some flexibility and some change. And so we're constantly navigating that balance. But if you can find that balance, you can have a much stronger relationship with them. Number 5, validate them. Validate their feelings and their ideas. When we validate their feelings, we demonstrate empathy and we encourage them to open up even more to us. So don't interrupt them. Don't dismiss their thoughts because those are surefire ways to discourage them from sharing with you in the future. And don't judge them. Teens often hesitate to confide in their parents because they fear being judged. They fear being criticized. So to create an environment where they feel comfortable about talking openly with you, that is so important to adopt in order to have this kind of like non-judgmental approach. Acknowledge their perspectives, even if they differ from yours. Avoid jumping to conclusions or imposing your beliefs on them. If we can foster this non-judgmental communication, we encourage them to express themselves honestly because they don't fear negative repercussions. Number 6, show trust in them. I know that can be hard, but try to treat them like more of an equal. I know that for many parents, this is a tough one. You've been their parent, you're the adult, they're the child, you're in charge, you make the rules, you make the decisions, they listen, but as they've gotten to be teens, they talk back. They resist. They're, in our eyes, at least, disrespectful. They don't listen. They break your rules. This is another decision like it's like do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? There comes a time when you are raising teens and you want to connect with them more. And, you want to be happier in your relationship with them. And so there comes a time when you need to consider your parenting style. Yes, you are the parent. And yes, they are the children. But they're not really children anymore. They're teenagers. I see them as being kind of semi-adults. If you become a dictator, they will push back. And if that's the type of relationship that you want with them, then that's what you're going to get. But if you don't want that kind of relationship, if you want more of a connection with them, then you're going to need to recognize them for this semi-adult that they are and let your relationship move from that vertical relationship to more of a horizontal relationship, like an egalitarian relationship. It might mean the way that you speak with them, or the freedoms that you give them, or the decisions that you let them make on your own. Trust them more because sometimes they're going to surprise you. Number 7, give them space. Mental space, emotional space, physical space. Give them some space, both literal space and physical space and metaphoric space. You may be telling your kids that this is their house and they belong here. But if they don't have any control over the space in the house, they're not going to feel like they belong. You have to respect teenagers' need for personal space. It's huge in creating a home environment that they want to be in, and not be so critical when they want to use that space. I haven't seen her come downstairs in days. First of all, probably an exaggeration, but also she needs somewhere. They need somewhere, someplace that they can do the things that they love or refresh or even just hide from us. Teens often want to be alone, just to think, because there is so very much for them to try to figure out. Or maybe they need a space to distract themselves from something that they enjoy or with something that they enjoy so that they're not thinking. Or maybe they just want to be away from us, and that is fine too. Give them some space. Number 8, give them praise and acceptance for who they are, even if it's not who you wish they were. We all crave love and acceptance, and especially your teens. As parents, we have lots of ideas about who our kids are. Or maybe more, we have ideas about who we think they should be, whether it's us expecting them to be who we are or wanting them to be who we aren't. We often project our dreams and our insecurities and our goals. Number 8, give them praise and acceptance for who they are, even if that's not who you wish that they were. We all crave love and acceptance, and especially your teens. As parents, we have lots of ideas about who our kids are. Or maybe we have ideas about who we think they should be, whether it's us expecting them to be who we are, or maybe wanting them to be who we aren't, We tend to project our dreams and our insecurities and our goals for them. We project onto them. I hear from parents all the time who are concerned because their kids don't seem to have a lot of friends, or they're not going out to parties, or they don't seem to belong to groups. They may even say things like, well, I was an extrovert in high school and I don't understand why they would want to be at home. Or they have so much athletic potential, but they just don't like sports, or any of a million potential versions of this. My response always starts the same. Are they happy? And not surprisingly, the answer is pretty much always yes. And okay, so that means that they're not you, or that they're not the version of them that you envision for them. And both are okay. Maybe it turns out that they're a theater kid and not an athlete, or a homebody and not a party kid, or they're a Democrat and not a Republican, or they're bi and not straight, or maybe they're a vegan, or they're dating someone that you never envisioned them with, or whatever way that they seem to be different or into different things than you expect. Keep a few things in mind. First, this is their story. It's their journey, not yours. And we all see the world from our perspective. And no matter how open-minded we think we are, we tend to believe that our way is the way. But it's not, period. No matter how set in our beliefs and ideas we are, there are multiple paths. This is the one that they are on, and they want you to accept it. And if you want to have a connection with them, you need to accept it too. However, you should also keep in mind that just because this is the path that they are on now, that doesn't mean that they won't change path at some point. Teenagers are desperately trying to figure out who they are. They are trying on different versions of themselves, and this is completely normal. It is what they are supposed to be doing. And really, it is one of the reasons that they need that space that I just told you to give to them. They need your acceptance without judgment. So accept them for who they are, and your relationship with them will be so much stronger. Number 9, be chill. And I don't mean that in a kind of bratty, chill out, mom. I don't mean it in that kind of way. I mean it more in a practice the pause and chill way. Just realize that your life and your relationships will be a lot better if you don't make a big deal out of it. Well, of course there are big deals, but there are not nearly as many big deals as most of us feel like there are. But if you zoomed out and you could see all of life from a wider perspective, most things are not nearly as big of a deal as we make them out to be. So practice the pause. Stay calm. Pick your battles. Is this the hill that you want to die on? And if so, great, go for it. Maybe it is actually one of those big deals. But if it's not, then just let it go. Practice the pause, which is one of my very favorite concepts and one that I cannot remind myself enough of. And it is a favorite because when you can do it and you can have that kind of chill out, that pause, it's literally life-changing. And it is relationship changing when you can do it. And number 10, raise your vibration. Just like I know that practicing the pause is life-changing, I also know that the law of attraction and the law of resonance, they are life-changing too. We don't attract what we want in life or the relationships that we want in life. We don't even attract what we love, but we do attract what we are. So set the tone of your home, set the temperature of your relationships, be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Set the vibration high, and eventually they'll rise to meet you. And belief is the thermostat for what you can achieve. See what I did there? So believe that you can have the happiest and the strongest relationship with your teens. And guess what? You can. All of these thermostats, I don't know why I'm obsessed with thermostats right now, but I swear. Thank you so much for being here and for spending this time with me. I know how valuable your time is, and I am so grateful that you've spent it here with me. I am grateful for the opportunity. See, another one. Look at, they all fit, I swear. But I am definitely grateful for the opportunity to chat with you each week. Now, if you've enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends, and please take a second to rate it. That would be fantastic. Maybe even review it if you like, because apparently that's how these algorithms work and how we can get more attention to our fantastic little community here. You can find me on socials. It's Reframing Me on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Yes, YouTube, and on Facebook. And also join the Facebook group Reframing Me, a podcast community, because I really need to focus on that this year. So please do me a solid. And if you see me post something, would you please at least like it? Because I always feel bad when people don't like it. And I know I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't place my value in other people's hands, and certainly not in their likes. But could you just like it, please? And maybe even share it or be wild and crazy and comment on it. That would be fantastic too. I believe that we can do so much with this community. Oh, and remember, belief is the thermostat for what we can achieve. I'll stop, I promise. Okay, until next time, be well and communicate.